Fatima Boy.
Fatima Boy.
Yeah.
Fatima Boy.
I think you would have just left when I just got in because I think there's a 7 year
Yeah.
gap.
Yeah. I'm 35
Right.
and how old are you? 28?
28. Yeah.
28. So yeah, 7 years. So I would have been gone when you've been coming in.
Right. So you didn't get that Father Gregory experience.
I got it. Well, Father Gregory was there when I went to Fatima, but he wasn't the principal. I think he only became the principal when I left. Like literally, as soon as I left, he became the principal.
Right.
Yeah. So he was the principal when you were there.
Yes.
Father Gregory. He's a good one.
He's a great one.
He's a good one. He's a good one.
Arguably, I mean, this word is tossed around too loosely nowadays, but he's a legend.
Yeah.
You know, like everyone that grew up under
he's held Fatima tremendously because when I used to be at Fatima, we were like a football school. So our principal used to transfer in good football players no matter their academics per se. And we had like a good football team. But our school also was real like I don't want to say ghetto, but hard. Let's just put it that way.
Right. Yeah.
Then when I left, when Father Gregory took over, he, turned that upside down. He focused more on academics. And I believe Fatima has more scholarships every year than CIC. No, I might be wrong. But I know that the school has done a lot better with academics and we still doing pretty decent football. So
yeah. And when you say a football school, like I know what you mean, but for someone who hasn't grown up in Trinidad, what does that refer to exactly?
A football school essentially is or what I used to call it, is our principal at the time. We were like still a really good school. Fatima was still a really good school, but we were underneath CIC and I believe QRC in academics. And our focus in being a football school is just winning the North Zone and Intercol. That was like just the football competition every year. And our principal actively focused on bringing in the best national players from different schools, didn't matter their background, so we could win those tournaments every year. So yeah, that's how it felt. Of course, they had, academics here and there. But a big thing, or of what I could recall about Father Gregory is he didn't like that. So once he became the principal, he like changed that and did it the right way.
Well, I'm curious what the academic culture was like when Fatima was more of a football school. Like, what was the day-to-days of going around school and being in class as a football school?
Bro, back in the day, if you played football, you're a star. As a matter of fact, the football team, the First 11 team, used to get free food on the days of games.
From where, boy?
From the principal.
True.
Yeah, the school or Fatima used to sponsor the team free food, and it was like you're the jock, even though it's all boys, but they used to be treated like that. It's definitely special treatment, and it was vibes once you're a footballer.
Yeah. And
I was a footballer. Right. Yeah. I made the intercol team at Form 5, and then but I was on the bench, and then lower 6 and upper 6 is when I started to play more regularly.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it was vibes.
Man.
It's not for everybody else.
Yeah. Well, I remember even not being on the intercall squad myself, but the vibes were still present in like the rhythm section, for example.
That's
Form
true.
6 block.
Right.
Men just have the drums out before a game and everyone chanting and getting riled up. Like even as a non-footballer, the vibes just still bled through.
I feel like yes, that is true. The rhythm sections, and once we were winning, the school came out and supported definitely. So yeah, that is true. The vibes were still big energy on the sidelines for sure.
Yeah. So you were a footballer.
Yeah.
Well, take us to your academic life back then. What were you interested in terms of subjects? What was getting your creative juices flowing?
Boy, to be honest, I was a late bloomer when it came to academics. I was never really good at sitting exams and that kind of stuff. I didn't know what I wanted to do until I graduated from college. Yeah, so I went to the University of Delaware in America.
And studied what?
I studied finance, and luckily I ended up doing finance, right?
But you chose finance based on...
So I went in as a marketing major for the first 2 years, and then I switched it to a finance major the last 2 years. And it's kind of ironic because those are the two things that I've done in my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just went into like my counselor in university up there. I have a counselor, and I was like, yeah, I do really know what to do. I would like to work in a good job after. And she said, well, finance is where the money is. That was it. I just like, all right, well, fine. I switched from marketing to finance.
Right.
So, however, when I was at university, I didn't learn anything. It felt like university was good because I got to get away from my parents and like do my own laundry and experience like the first semester I spent too much money and I was like out of money. It's like, oh shit. And I had to get a job on campus. My parents bailed me out that time. But in the second semester, day after, I had to get a job on campus to kind of, be able to buy an Xbox or buy clothes to kind of keep up with the Joneses of the students of there that are Americans. So it was good from that angle, but from education, I don't remember anything from college. All the stuff on education I got was after college. Yeah.
I think you've pointed out what I believe to be a glaring gap in the education market, which
Right.
is, I mean, you're getting this informal life education,
Yes.
right, of independence,
Right.
which if you're blessed to have been able to fly from the parents' nest and try to make a life of your own,
Right.
that is arguably the greatest life education you can get, is trying
Yeah.
to figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
And I can completely relate to the tertiary education experience just being so unfulfilling.
Yeah.
It's just very sterile and
Yeah.
impractical. And
Yeah.
I was just this young kid craving real world experience.
Right.
And everyone has their own learning styles. But
Right.
I knew for me, I was an experiential learner,
Same.
and needed to get my hands dirty.
Same. Yeah.
And burn and learn multiple times for it to like get through,
Same. Wow.
So, I mean, you've been exposed to finance and marketing
Yes.
in the traditional education sense.
Sure. Yes. Yeah.
In your studies.
Right.
So, taking that kind of foundation, would you say that there's things you were able to take away from the formal experience?
Nah. Nope. Literally no. Like everything I learned about what I do was through experience. So through like getting a job. So after I worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers doing like in mergers and acquisitions department, is which I learned a lot about like finance or
Was
corporate
this straight
finance.
out of school?
Straight out of school.
Okay.
And that is when I really, well, not straight out, because I had like a year where I didn't really have to like figure out what path and get motivated. When I came out of school, I didn't have a job, right? So,
and you came back to Trinidad?
No, I was up there for a bit, and then I came back to Trinidad, and then I worked for PwC. That was my first job.
Right.
And I was lucky to get that job because I didn't really have any good internships or anything. But because I went to school abroad, that kind of makes your resume more shiny. And what I've noticed is easier for me to get a job than someone that went to school in Trinidad, just because I've went to school in America. Maybe I have better experiences, maybe I'm smarter, I don't know what it is. But I was able to get a job, and through someone referred me to the job as well. So between the referral and going to school away, I think that helped seal the deal. In America, I would have never gotten a job because at PwC in New York or wherever in America, like you have to have good internships before, and also a good GPA, which I had like a 3.2 GPA. I think you need like a 3.5 up to get it. So yeah.
And that work experience, like, how was it for you?
Yeah, so that work experience is that's where I learned everything. Just working and then getting real world situations to like go and analyze a company. Like, how do I analyze? And then you're working with someone that's more experienced with you, and they will be able to like kind of give you the lessons like in real time. And I felt like that's where you really start to understand. I didn't even understand what I was getting into, to be honest.
Right. Well, I was gonna ask if when you came into this professional world, if you felt like you had a foundation with school and then got popped down quickly, or
Yeah, I kind of went in, and before I went in, I just started reading like newspapers and like the Wall Street Journal and that kind of stuff, to kind of get an idea. But when I got there, it was still like, whoa. The only foundation I really had that was decent going into the job was my accounting background, which started from Fatima, to be honest. Went through university, it still was pretty solid, but once you understand like core accounting, income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statement, I used that at PwC. So that was like my foundation, but I had so much more to pile on to that. Yeah, I just had a very basic understanding. So yeah.
And do you have any early days stories of getting into this firm and perhaps a mentor coming in and showing you the ropes on one of your first projects?
Yeah, it was tough because when I got in, it was a slow burn. As in, when you now get in, you have to like do a lot of like videos that are on compliance, and because these accounting bodies have to make sure they stay within compliance. So after that first 3 months, then I kind of started to get on projects where I was like, the new guy. But how it works in the transactions department is a deal will come and it needs to be done within 2 weeks to a month. So it's very fast paced. And what I used to do is mergers and acquisitions. So like company A wants to acquire company B, but company B says their value's up here, so I wanna be sold for up here. Company A says no, I want to buy you down here. So PwC comes in as an independent company and gets that valuation somewhere in between.
Okay.
Right? So they will come and value company B, and then the valuation is not as low as company, not as high as company B, and it's an independent body, so it's not like any bias.
Right.
So a company A will want to acquire company B, and then they'll reach out to PwC, say, listen, we need this valuation. No, we need to know if we want to buy this or not, or else we'll buy company C.
Right.
So the nature of that role that I had was just very fast paced, and it was kind of being thrown in with the wolves, to be honest. So yeah, I was just in there, and it's very fast paced, and directors and stuff moving quickly, and like you just need to react. And I felt bad to always have so many questions. I didn't know what I was doing. But after a while, you kind of get the gist, and you kind of start keeping up. But there was this one big pivotal moment where I was, say, performing down here, and then I went to performing up here. And that was when my director told me, listen, like, he kind of pulled me up. He's like, listen, you need to, this is what your role is, and you need to master this. And I was like, oh, and you know what? No one really told me that too. I just kind of come in and you just kind of do what they say. But he kind of sat down and he's like, listen, I find you're not mastering your data parkway. Not like you don't fully know it in and out. Your role is to know this in and out. Any question I have to ask you on this, you need to know it front and back. And I was like, say less. So in 2-3 weeks, I work extra time. When I came home, I would like study, like figure. And in 3 weeks or so, he pulled me in a room and said, listen, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Because since I talked to you, I've seen a tremendous improvement in your performance. Keep doing it. Well done. So it was just that little conversation he had with me where I didn't realize I was messing up. He had that conversation with me, and then I locked in because I always had the work ethic. So that was like kind of my PwC story, I guess.
Man, there's two things that stand out there. The first one was you mentioning that you're afraid to be asking so many questions.
Yeah, boy.
I think that's a hurdle people need to get over,
Yeah.
It's like better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
Put your ego to the side.
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine in that finance industry setting,
Right.
how, I don't know if it's cutthroat.
It is tough, man.
If you're asking someone for their attention, if it's like just going against the grain.
Yeah.
But I think that's a culture that people need to work on, is just putting your pride to the side and admitting when you don't know something.
Yeah.
and just showing your willingness to learn at the same time. So
Yes.
it's not asking people to baby you,
Yeah.
but rather you're showing up real keen and eager to learn. Be like,
Right.
I don't know
Yeah.
how to do this.
Yeah.
So
No,
at least the
facts.
right person. Like, so the second thing that stands out is the power of a good mentor, someone
Yes.
to step in. And even if it's just a little word of encouragement or to
Right.
point out, as you said, you didn't even know that you were supposed
Yeah.
to be doing it that way.
Yeah.
That's kind of like filling that void of you ask the question to the right person,
Right.
and you might have a lifelong mentor in return.
Facts. No, agreed. That helped tremendously.
Yeah.
And good on him too, because I feel like I'm the leader if I'm in a managerial position, I'm kind of like, if someone's not doing well, I don't like conflict. And sometimes they just kind of need to break the barrier and just be like, hey, listen, I'm just in a constructive way. But it's really important because, in my situation, I didn't know I was messing up. So shout out to him. I won't call his name, but big up to him. He was a director.
Yeah. Big up the mentors and all.
Yeah, for sure.
Funnily enough, that dynamic goes the same way. They appreciate the fresh perspective of a mentee, right?
Right.
To be like, wow. True. You mentioned 2-3 weeks later, he was like, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Maybe you inspired him to up his game in some way.
Yeah, so, true.
I definitely think it's never a one-way street. It's not just like them giving and you taking. It's
right.
Like, I think a good metaphor is probably like a more established musician collaborating with like some hot new talent,
right.
Where the talent appreciates the kind of platform that this person has established.
Right.
That person who's on the established platform is like, Waze, you're giving me fresh new energy and ideas.
That's true. That's true.
So that's a whole thing in itself that many books could and probably have been written on. So you had mentioned, I don't think you mentioned it in the chat so far, but in your journey, you had gone down a day trading route.
Yes.
So what does that even mean? Like, what does that look like? And if you could bridge the gap from where we were with PwC.
After a year working at PwC, I realized that the plan was for me to go and do my master's in finance in Europe, potentially in Germany. And then thereafter, I would leave. Well, not leave. Once I'm done my master's, then I would go back into like working corporate finance, similar to what I was doing at PwC. But then I realized it just wasn't for me.
What elements were
to be honest, I didn't like the corporate life. And this might sound really bad, but I don't like working under people. I really don't like being told what to do.
A lot of entrepreneurs can
relate. I really don't like being told what to do. And that sounds really bad, but it was the truth. I didn't. And I just didn't like the corporate life. Because I could see where it gets like, I want to always be myself 100%. And I feel in order to go up the corporate ladder, you kind of have to like sometimes succumb to people to like rub their shoulders to like get that promotion. And I just couldn't, like, I just won't, you know what I mean? And so I just don't think I fit the corporate life, to be honest. So knowing those two things, I stopped doing my GMAT, put that to the side. And then before I left, I was kind of, for that last year I was there, I was trying to figure out, what do I do? But I still like finance, but I how else can I make money? I was like, maybe I could be an investor, but to be invested in, no one's going to invest with, like, at the time I was probably like 24, 25. At the time, 25, 26, right? Yeah. No one's going to invest with a 25, 26 year old. You know what I mean? So it's like, what do I know? No one's going to give me $1 million to invest. So I was like, that could be maybe down in the future, which is today. But I was like, well, I can't do that right now. I need to make money. So I was just like doing a lot of research. I saw like trading because I had saved some money. I'd saved like 50K US or so. And I was like, well, I could do trading, you know, and that's something where I don't need other clients to make money. I can make money myself with the money that I've saved. So I just bought a course and I started to do it on the side while I worked. And then after 3 months, I left because I couldn't I just needed to get. I really didn't like corporate life,
Mm.
so I just left because I just needed to like get out. Um, Nothing bad about PwC at all. It's just me. I was like the problem. And then yeah, I started day trading full time, and well, that didn't go good at all.
Really?
That was, whew, I think that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Really?
100%.
At what point did you realize, did you get in and start to feel the pain?
See, well, I felt it right away. But
Really?
the smart thing that I did, this is the smartest thing I did. So I started trading real money right away, which maybe wasn't so smart. But when I was trading real money, I would only place like a $5 or $10 trade. So my goal was to just feel what it is like trading with real money and not like paper money.
Mhm.
And then also just to make $1, or something like that. It didn't have to, I was just trying to, I had like a sheet where I would capture the data of all my trades, and I was just trying to like have more green than red.
Right.
So it could be at the end of the month, I'm up $10 profit, and I'll be elated with that. So my goal is to just make like $1 or $2 a day, which thankfully I started very small, because for the first 2 years I lost money.
Mm.
So I was just like negative $25 this month, negative. And you know what's the funny thing? In that first 2 years, I did blow up like 3 times.
Blow up in what sense?
Meaning that I was supposed to have like small, I did elevate the risk eventually to like trying to win $50 or so.
Mm.
One time I lost $3,000.
Wow.
I was like my biggest loss, and that was like one of the most depressing days ever. And that was just because I lacked, that day I wasn't disciplined. And how trading works is, let's just say I buy stock X at $100, and I wanted to go up to 102, and then I sell for a profit of $2. Let's just say the stock was going against me, and rather than get out, let's just say 100, it goes down to 99. So I'm supposed to come out at 99. So I just lose $1. So the risk reward would be, I win 2, lose 1. So that's like a decent risk reward. That trade, I said no. I instead of getting out, I'll add more money. And then it kept going down, and I add more money, so I just ended up like, fuck.
Is the adding more money with the expectation that you're getting a better deal and you're expecting it to go back?
That's right. So as it goes down, you add more, and it kind of lowers your, let's say, average price. So if the market tunes back around, it's easier to get out.
Right.
And I was starting to do that for a bit, and it was working for me until it stopped working for me. And thank the Lord, my risk was so small. Because if I was trying to make like $1,000 a trade, I would have lost that full 50K. 100%. I would have lost all that money. So I learned some lessons in that first 2 years. I probably lost like 10 or 15K in the first 2 years. And bear in mind, this is when I'm like 26 to 28, when my friends are like now moving out. Because in Trinidad, people move out a little later than in America. I would say the average age is maybe, for fellas, not girls. Girls take a little longer. Fellas, my friends started moving out at 25, 26, maybe 27. That was the average. While I was still living at home with my parents, because of the trading, I sold my car because I didn't want to have to pay debt until I was like making money for sure.
Yeah.
So I sold my car, was living at home with my parents, and I was losing money. Right. So it was tough. So I day traded. So my timeline, I've been in finance for 12 years. The first 2 I worked at PwC, and then in the last 10 was trading and investing in the stock market, which let's just say the first 7 was trading and investing, and the last 3 was just fully investing. But the first 5 was more, I should say the first 5 was really just day trading. Then the last 5 was more done with day trading and investing. But I did do some trades here and there, but I don't trade anymore at all. All I do is invest.
Right.
Yeah.
I think one of the main takeaways is that you started small, right? So
Very
you're
small.
just looking to make $1,
Yes.
$10. You'd
Yeah.
be elated if you had a $25 profit.
Elated.
And even relatively speaking, $3,000 is a lot of money objectively.
Yeah.
However, as you said, you could have lost the
Oh
full
man.
50.
Yes. I could have.
So
I could have.
that ability
Oof.
to still play the game,
Yes.
even though you're playing small, is
Yeah.
such a valuable lesson, dog. Like so many people don't get in the game at
Yeah.
all because
Yeah.
it's like go big or go home,
Yeah.
or like I won't play if I don't think I'll be the best. It's
Yeah.
like no, you have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to, as you say,
Yeah.
like all your peers are out moving out,
Ooh.
making life moves.
That
and
was tough. That was so hard. I was so broke. If I get invited to a wedding, I'm like, oh no. I don't have suits. I don't give a gift. I was bro. Nah, life is tough, bro.
Yeah.
But you made a good point because one thing I was able to do was stay in the game.
Mhm.
And it went from 50K down to like 15. And then the last 4 years, it went from 15 now back to like 55K.
Right.
So I'm now finally above where I started, right? 10 years later. But
the lessons learned.
But the lessons learned were good. I'm not going for like crazy returns what I was trying to go for. Now I'm real content with like a 10 to 30% return every year on average. That's my goal. Whereas before, when I was trying to live off of this thing, I was trying to get 100% return, 100% plus, and that is really tough, really tough. So yeah, I've changed. I matured a lot, but really importantly, I didn't blow. I stayed in the game, and if I took too much risk in the beginning, I don't think I would have ever been in finance because I would have lost the 50K and I'm like, bun that, and I went somewhere else. So yeah. So
to stay in the game, man. That's a universal principle. Just keep playing, keep playing, keep playing.
Yeah.
It's that's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
So moving from trading to investing,
right?
What is the difference for people that just have absolutely no clue about finance? What does it now look like in your financial activities to be investing in companies versus trading companies?
Right. So investing is a lot, one, easier, and two, a lot safer than trading. Trading is when you're in and out. So day trading, so on a spectrum of hardest to easiest, day trading would be number one because the time frame is the quickest. Right. So day trading means you're in and out of the stock in the same day.
Right.
Whereas investing is usually you're holding for like 5-10 years plus. Right. So investing is you would get in. So there's something called the S&P 500, which is a basket of the top 500 companies across all sectors in America. And what a lot of people do in New York and America is they'll have like retirement funds or 401ks where every month 10% or so of their salary will go towards the S&P 500, and over time 10% of salary every month for 30 plus years, 30 35 years will be X amount of millions at retirement. Right? So it's a more slow and steady approach. You don't need the cash to live because you have a job or you're doing something else, and it's more setting yourself up for retirement. So that's kind of like, a small synopsis on investing. Whereas trading is, in, out, and as I was mentioning, like the levels. So we day trading, then some called swing trading, which means you hold for like a week, a month, 3-4 months or so. Then you have position trading, which means you hold for a year, 2 years, and then there's investing, which is the longest, is thereafter.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are like I would consider myself as the last two.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't even know that. I didn't know that investing referred to the longest term scenario.
Yes.
And that even something like 6 months is technically still trading.
Yes, right? Absolutely. Man, absolutely.
That's important verbiage to break down for the average Joe,
yeah. For sure.
Because we were talking before the camera started rolling about, financial literacy and the potential crisis that we have on our hands with people not investing.
Yeah.
And I think it's simple things like this is
Yeah.
the foundation
Yeah.
when it comes to the verbiage you use to understand what that means. I never knew about that spectrum.
Yeah.
I would assume most people that don't invest also don't know about that
Right.
spectrum, you know.
Yeah, it's true, and especially in Trinidad. So I'm in New York, but like a lot of my clients are between New York and Trinidad, and I will come home like once a quarter or so. But when I'm here and I'm speaking with Trinis, I will speak with lawyers, top accountants, doctors, etc. And no one really is invested in the US stock market, far less the local stock market. And I don't know why it is, but I feel like in Trinidad especially, there's like a lack of knowledge or education on this just stock markets in general. Whereas I feel like Trinidad is more a society with real estate. Whereas like if you want to invest, you buy real estate. But the thing with that is that I feel like the white picket fence opportunity is not the same. When I say white picket fence, the low hanging fruit opportunity for real estate was back in my parents' days or even my grandparents' days. So, Westmoreland's, Larryville, all those towers weren't there. It used to be sugarcane. And we used to live on like Santa Maria Drive, which is like, in Columbus, right? Yeah. And parents bought our property for nothing. I mean, it was not nothing, but it wasn't like what it is today.
Yeah.
You try to buy a property in that Westmoreland's now, you're spending a lot of money. So they had a lot of opportunities back in my parents' days and my grandparents' days. And they would tell stories to us like, yeah, real estate is what you need to do. But the problem is when you look for that opportunity, no, it's not the same. Whereas if you do take that money and go in the stock market, not necessarily the Trinidad stock market, because that's under duress, but the global stock markets and especially US stock market. If you look at a chart of the S&P 500, over the last 100 years is gone up. So that same, I would have mentioned before, like investing, people take 10 or 15% of their salaries and put it in the S&P 500. That turns into millions by the time they retire in USD. And that's like the new white picket fence or the new low-hanging fruit opportunity that I would like to try and get that out there for Trinidad to know. Because when I'm in New York talking with people that, have careers and stuff, they all have investments, right? So why is it not like that in Trinidad? That's one thing I want to try and change.
Well, man, it's definitely getting my creative juices flowing. The analogy that I'll do my best to try and tie this into is the way that Trinis can support foreign football teams. It's always baffled me how someone in Trinidad will be willing to die for Manchester United. They've never been to England.
Right.
They have no technical reason to love this club other than maybe Dwight York played there however many years ago. And I bring that up as an analogy to see how can people care about something that isn't right up in their face locally, because I think of Trinis, how do you get them to care about the companies in the S&P 500? And then you mentioned that the local stock market is under duress.
Right.
So what is a way to get people to care about foreign operations the same way that they care about football?
That's a real good way to put it. And I think it's in the culture, to be honest. Because Trinidad's culture is embedded in football. When you grew up, the sport you play is football or cricket. But football is like, go and play football. You know what I mean? So from young, we are about football, and then we watch on TV, and then all my friends played football. So it's like, we just kind of grew up on it. So now we're all like addicts. My favorite team is Arsenal. And it's I used to be crazy though. I used to be like in the Powerball and bar, like, yeah, like head trotters, like, yeah, like when Ori scored, like slamming my hand on the table, you know. Now I'm kind of matured out of it a little bit, but I'm still want my team to win. But coming back to what we were talking about, so I feel like it has to kind of be embedded in Trinidad society. So it has to go deep. And one good thing, I guess, or I suppose, is the younger demographics, the younger generation, they are on the internet more than my grandparents and my parents, and then millennials, and you know, so they are seeing more what the stock market is doing than what my parents were seeing, or me, because I started in the stock market at 26. Um, some of the younger audiences are asking their grandparents file 5K to start at 18, right? So they will go on Robinhood, and that's another thing. A lot of these brokers are given access at much younger ages. When I started with Interactive Brokers, I believe you needed to be over 25. Now is as soon as you're 18, let it rip. You know what I mean? So I feel like that will help. I feel like the younger generations may be more into stocks just naturally because of social media and that kind of stuff and what they see on the internet. But Trinidad still needs to do a better job of getting that embedded in society, and I think that will take time. I think honestly what it might be is the younger generation get onto it, and when they get old, they will tell their kids about the stock market, and then they'll tell their grandkids, and then it becomes like a part of the society. So I feel like it's going to take time.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not to say that it's too far gone for people older than us, the doctors and the lawyers that you're interacting with. Is there any hope for these people?
That's an interesting question. I feel like there's always hope. And let's just say, example, a doctor, you know, they're high earners, and what I do tend to see is sometimes they'll be in like bonds, which is fine. A bond is, not to get too technical, but I was gonna say some technical. It's a fixed income insurance. It basically is debt, but so there's debt and stocks are like equity. Debt or bonds are like safer than stocks. So with it being safer, the return is lower. And when you're a doctor and let's just say you're 50 plus, being bonds is fine, because if you could get a 4% return, and you have a lot of money, it's fine. So say for instance, I keep it to this mic, sorry. Say for instance, my grandpa, he is 95, right? He has no stocks. He's all in bonds because he can't take the risk of the volatility of stocks. Whereas bonds, they expire in 10 years. He gets this interest payment semi-annually, and he lives off of that, right? So back to my point with doctors, the problem is that they've been doing this in their 20s. Whereas when you're young, let's just say 45 down, you should be in, or at least have a portfolio with some stocks in it, so you could get a higher return, and therefore more compounded returns over that time before you retire. So I guess to round it off, people that have earned a lot of money, doctors, etc., lawyers, they'll be fine because they just are high earners. But people that aren't high earners, you know, they're the ones that could get in like sticky positions, because the stock market could kind of save middle income and lower income class people once they start early.
Right.
100%.
So early is the key.
Early is the key, and if you can't start early, just say you're 40 and you just want to start.
Yeah.
Key is just starting, absolutely. And hopefully at 40 you have more money to start with than if you're 20. You know, so you could start with a bigger piece of capital. I think the problem with society, and this is not only Trinidad, this is just the world, is if you start at 18, you're starting with 500 or 1,000 US. But if you invest that 1,000 US, and let's just say every year you put 1,000 US, you have such a big head start to, let's just say when you're 30, you have more money and you want to start investing properly. You know, you look back at your accounts and be like, oh wow, that initial investment came a long way. You know what I mean? So the key is to start.
Man, the paradox that is glaring to me at the moment is the fact that when you're in those later stages of life, that's when the sense of urgency or the sense of importance starts to hit.
That's it.
Because when you're 20,
that's it.
You're just carefree living more or less. So it's such a paradox that it's actually 20-year-olds that are taking it so serious.
Yeah.
And without the like glaring need.
Right.
Versus the people that kids need to go to college and how am I going to retire? That's when they start kicking themselves and being like, shit, I should have gotten into this earlier.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, how do you bridge that gap?
It's tough. I feel like it goes deep.
Yeah.
I feel like it needs to be introduced in school because we don't learn that in school. You know what I mean? So we learn biology and whatever, and then we go on, you know, add on to what we learned. But I feel like we need to learn about personal finance in high school. So Fatima, we should be learning about personal finance because at least lower 6 and upper 6, because that's 2 years before you hit. Some people go into the job market, some people don't go straight to school, to university. I feel like some personal finance needs to be taught then. People need to know, like, okay, this is what comes in every month, and need to know how to budget. They need to know, like, okay, because you'll be surprised. Since I've started my own business and stuff, a lot of people don't even know how much they spend a month. And that's like one of the big problems because they don't know how much to invest because they kind of just swipe in their card and they kind of will check their bank statement and they kind of in the green, so they think they're not spend. And to me, I'm like, yo, like, what? Like, I feel like this needs to be pinned down. So at the end of every month, I will go through all of my expenses. I know, like, okay, I had this client that dropped off, or I had this new client that came in. So my revenue is like this. So I'll know, okay, this is my income, this is my expenses, all of that stuff. And then this is how much I could put towards saving, investing, XYZ. And I think that's really important. A lot of people don't do that. So yeah, but I guess to round off the point, I think personal finance needs to be taught in high school.
But interestingly enough, we were talking about the shortfalls of traditional education systems.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a natural segue now into this world of content creation from your side.
Right.
And online self-education.
Right.
So I'm curious, like, when did that begin for you? When did you realize, okay, let me start sharing myself to the world online? What was that moment?
Yeah, well, so there's a caveat in there. And before I started sharing the finance videos, I was in the more of the marketing space. So all the years where I was doing day trading and investing, I wasn't only doing that. I was also, so I have a social media marketing agency as well in Trinidad. And I went through like a year and a half where I was like doing TikTok videos, actually with my mom. And we went viral, and that's how I really learned about like social media and like TikTok and then Instagram and Facebook, and now learning LinkedIn a little bit more and that kind of stuff. And yeah, so it kind of started there. So I kind of felt comfortable being on camera from that experience. And then when I was finally ready to start my investment business, I took a while to start it because once I started, I want to make sure I'm not losing anyone's money.
Right.
Because I feel like in finance, you get one chance. You lose somebody's hard-earned money, you're done. Right. So I really took my time to that's why it took like 10 years for me before I started my investment business. And but yeah, so when I finally started it, I had all this experience over here on the marketing side. And then I was like, okay, let me leverage that and start making educational videos, just to simply try and educate people, because a lot of people don't really, I don't know if they, I don't know, a lot of people don't know a lot of things, and if I could kind of help bridge that gap, great.
Mm-hmm.
And then also for people to also know that I'm in this space as well. I've been in it for like 12 years, but no one really knew that. So kind of to like enlighten people that I am in finance. I've always been, because I feel like a lot of people know me for the other side, the marketing side. So that's kind of those two, like educating people and, kind of having a digital resume, I suppose. The reason why I would have started doing the finance videos.
Right.
Mm.
And what would you say is some of the biggest takeaways in your journey of sharing lessons online? Um, like what stands out to you to be like some high moments, some low moments?
I on the finance side.
Even just content creation in general.
Hmm. So on the finance side, that's a little bit more new. So I don't think I have enough lessons to share there. What I would say is, some people have reached out, and they were like, they would ask me questions about one of the videos I did, or they'll, you know, so that's cool, because it starts a nice little conversation whereby I didn't even know this person, but then they reach out to me and they're potentially interested. So it could potentially also be a lead as well. They might come on, but that's not really, you know, it's just more of a people reach out and I'm able to kind of help. And it just shows that there are people that have an interest, or at the back of their mind, they know they want to kind of like start. Um, so when they see something like, oh yeah, let me reach out, and they get more information. So not sure if that's a lesson, but that's something. And then another thing I've learned is I don't get much views on the finance side. But one video might be 2,000 views, or one might be 3K, one might be 1,500. No comments. But then when I'm like at a social event or gathering, they're like, "Oh yeah, I saw your video on the finance video." So people are seeing, it's just like all those views are eyes, and it starts up a conversation on where you think the markets are right now. What's your view? And you just talk a little bit about finance. So that was also really eye opening to me. Um, but yeah, and then on the other side, I get a lot more views on that other side. Um, but
What is the kind of brand identity on the other side outside of finance?
so the other side was more so content creator, just kind of fun. It started with I went through my Snapchat, my old Snapchat, when the war between the war, Russia and Ukraine. I saw like on Snapchat maps, someone was like partying in their room in Ukraine when they were getting bombed. So I just saw that on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, let me download back Snapchat maps, because I want to find that person, right?
Okay.
So I re-downloaded it. I saw it. I was like, that's cool. But then I saw like I had like memories. So I went through. I saw like videos that kind of made me laugh. And someone had told me at the time that I was dating that I would be real good at TikTok, right? And I just posted that. I was like, all right, let me just post an old one. I posted, and that video I posted with me making fun of my mom about something, and that video got like 5,000 views. I was like, what? So I posted another one, and then that one got like 8,000, and then I posted, and then that one broke 10K.
Right.
And I was like, what the hell? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So thereafter, I just kind of did that for like a year and a half, and I learned a lot about like social media and the algorithms, and like how to double down on what's working from what's not working, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was cool. So that I would say is just more like content creator lifestyle content, which I don't post as much. I might post twice a year, but when I do post, my average views are like 10K, I think, a video.
This is on Instagram.
That's on TikTok.
On TikTok.
That's on TikTok. I never really like branched out of TikTok on that one.
Right.
On Instagram, I do finance.
Well, it would be real interesting to see what you could pull from the successes of the personal lifestyle content creation and say,
Yeah.
okay, I would, like almost to an extent throw shit at the wall and see what sticks, and just like try to blend. This is not like advice or anything,
Right,
but I'm
right.
just thinking out
Yeah,
loud.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
maybe if you were to integrate some of the more personable tactics.
Yes.
We were talking again before the camera started rolling about verbiage used and just like layman's terms.
Yeah. I need to work on that for sure.
I mean, I don't think you're as far off as you might think, it's as simple as just as if you're trying to explain it to a baby.
Yeah.
Right? And just not overcomplicating, but then
Right.
also making it personal. And even getting real specific with it to be like, this is my personal lived experience right now.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right.
With
Yeah,
the finance lens on it,
Yeah.
instead of it just being like a general overview.
Yeah.
I actually did an interview with a visual artist named Brian Ashing.
Okay.
And he brought up this incredible point about the magic in the specificity of things.
Right.
Where you'd think that the more specific you're about something, less people will be able to relate.
Right.
But what he points out is that there's a depth of emotion with specific things.
Right.
That people can relate to the feeling rather than the actual lived experience.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that I'm even getting goosebumps as I said it because, that's what can potentially draw people in to be like, wow, this is a real person with a real life,
Yeah.
Especially in the content world nowadays, the big question is this AI or not?
That's true.
So the more you can be like, nope, I'm a human, I'm making mistakes just like the rest of y'all. That could be, could be a good thing. Well,
yeah.
I think we could call that a wrap. I think we've had a great conversation.
Sure.
Thanks for coming on the show.
For sure.
And,
glad to be here. It was fun.
Yeah,
it was fun.
That's good.